I told you that we're going into the winners and losers of the markets, but first, I've got a great guy on the line at the moment. Great guy. As a starting entrepreneur, the first step to making your business a dream a reality is to put together a business plan. That makes sense. And on the line right now, I have Thommie Burger, who is a business consultant. So, I don't know. Can you hear me? Hi, Thommie. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi, how are you?
Welcome to
Thank
the
you very
business
much for the
platform on
opportunity.
TUKS FM, Thommie. How are you doing?
Very well on this rainy day.
All right, that's excellent, and the weather has been quite turbulent. Now, I just want to ask you a few simple questions regarding. Can you please explain to us before I ask you these questions what it is that you do, Thommie?
Okay, well, I run a business plan consultancy in Pretoria, primarily focusing on assisting brand new companies or startup companies as well as existing companies in dealing with aspects pertaining to starting a business. And one of the key components of that we do is assist clients in writing business plans, whether it's for funding application purposes or whether it's for their own internal use. Now, along the lines as well, other aspects like conducting research on their behalf, doing financial models, and then obviously startup coaching. So I've been doing that for almost 11 years now.
Oh wow! So we could call you a veteran. So you're pretty much a veteran in the game. I'd just like to know. So I'm a young entrepreneur. I'm keen on starting my own business. How much would it cost me approaching you generally for a business plan?
Okay, so I mean it really depends on the type of client and the type of business, and obviously the level as well. So if you're a brand new startup and you really just want somebody to assist you with the business plan, you want to take that business plan to a bank or to a personal investor, we can always assist you with that. And you're looking at anything from 5,000-6,000 rand upwards. And it can obviously range. I mean, if it's much more complex and much more involved, then obviously you're looking at much higher levels in terms of spending. But you look, normally in the South African market, you're looking around about a 5,000 rand mark upwards.
All right, so north of it it's 5,000, south of that it's around about 500. That doesn't sound too expensive, and it seems like a reasonable rate. And obviously this goes towards compensating your research or your assistance to the clients. But I want to know, are you primarily responsible for the research? But who is responsible for the research in a business plan? Is it me who's coming and approaching you for the assistance?
It's a very good question, and I'll answer it from a point of an investor. So if a young entrepreneur has a nice idea or a new business idea that they want to take to somebody for funding purposes or investment purposes, one of the first things that an investor will ask them is, how much research have you conducted, and what do you know about the market and your customers? Mm-hmm. I normally tell our clients that for them to have a credible case and to be credible, seen as credible in the market, they need to do some of the groundwork themselves. So they need to start speaking to potential customers, see what the competitors are doing out there before they approach a business plan consultancy such as ourselves. Our real guidance would then come in to support that market research, so we delve deeper into the research that the client already has, and then also guide them as to more recent research or up-to-date facts and figures that they can use to paint a much more stronger case with their business plan at the end of the day.
All right, so who are we painting the case for? This is mainly for the investors that we're going to portray our business plan to, correct?
Yeah, I mean, primarily I would say about 70% of our clients and the clients that normally would look for an outside consultancy to assist them, it's normally clients that want a very presentable top-notch, world-class type of business document or business plan that can then take to a financier, whether it's a family member that wants to fund them or whether it's an outside investor or a bank. And then the balance of those clients normally just want something on paper that they want as a guideline that they can use for the next year or two as they start implementing their business and start to operate.
All right, I'm glad that you gave me the time frame of a year or two, because I'd really like to, is it dependent on the research? There's one question that has been on my mind for quite some time. How long does the process specifically for research take?
Very, very good question again. So, I mean, the research itself all depends on how much work are you willing to put in as an entrepreneur, as a client. So if you look at a startup company, for argument's sake, let's say you want to start a retail shop or you want to start a nice clothing boutique. I mean, obviously you would want to look at who's currently doing what you want to do. You want to do some field work in terms of visiting some of these competitors, and then also combine that with other research. So as a rule, something like that you can complete within a month to 2 months, and then that needs to then be incorporated into the actual business plan. But remember, research is not just the market research itself. It's also researching aspects pertaining to your financials. So in other words, how much does it cost you to run a website? How much does it cost you to employ certain staff members, etc., etc.
Wow, so it really gets intricate and in-depth the more you break it down. Because I know that a lot of people are probably optimistic when they have the idea and they're coming initially saying, okay, I want to start the business, but then there's so many moving parts. So I have this question for you. What is the key components in a business plan?
Well, very interesting. You've just alluded to it. A lot of clients come with a huge dream, and they come with a positive nature and a positive attitude. And unfortunately, we need to bring facts to the table as a consultant. So, I mean, the most important components of a business plan, specifically to an investor, would be, first of all, the business model. Now, when I say business model, I talk about how is it that you're going to make money. What are you selling? Are you selling a certain product or a certain service? And then how are you actually making money, whether it's an online shop, whether you're selling a product-by-product basis or a once-off service. So that needs to come across very, very clear in a business plan as to how are you going to make money, first of all, and then how are you bringing those products and services to your clients. Now, once you've established that basic business model, the other component is the financial model. Now, once you've done your research, you'll have a lot of facts, and all your assumptions that you will make in terms of how much it will cost and how much you can price your products for the market will then be based on this research that you've done. So before you even start writing, before you even start thinking on putting this nice presentation together, you really need to get all those facts together to then basically steer the business plan. And that's the most important. It's all about facts. An investor or any other stakeholder looking at your business plan, they will look at it and they want to see, are you credible? Because remember, they're not just investing in your product, they're investing in you as an entrepreneur. And if you come across as not credible and with a lot of non-factual type of information and a lot of some type of assumptions, then they're just going to throw their business plan away.
All right, that makes sense. So you always need to be certain about the facts and figures. That's a sensible approach to this. Now, you've given me the keys, and it seems as though the advice that you're giving me is very sound, Thommie. I trust you right now. You seem like an expert at this. So this is my question to you, to anybody who's looking to start a business and they're trying to find a consultant specifically. Like, there are many business plan consulting companies out there. So what is it that I need to look out for before asking them for help?
Well, the first question that you need to ask yourself is, are you willing to spend money on a consultancy? So now, we spoke about the price levels to pay for this type of service. Mm-hmm. Now, there's consultancies out there that will charge you very little, and there's consultancies out there that will charge you a lot. Now, you need to ask yourself, what is it that you want, and what are you willing to spend? Now, also remember, paying 100 Rand or 500 Rand for a business plan doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get something very, very good.
Oh, so you get what you put in essence.
Absolutely. So that's the first important thing. So do your homework, contact 5 or 6 consultancies based in the Gauteng area or South Africa, weigh up and try and compare apples with apples. If the one charges maybe double, see why it is. Maybe there's a good reason. They add maybe a lot of value to what it is that you're looking for. Or, the actual service they offer is much more in-depth than for argument's sake, competitor A. That's the one thing. The second thing as well is the best salespeople to these consultancies, including ourselves, is past clients.
All right.
So look at past testimonials, look at what other clients have to say about that consultancy service levels, and try and speak to them. And any consultancy that's worth its gold will be more than willing to give you contact details and so forth of past clients that you can contact yourself and maybe speak to these clients and try and find out from them how was their experience in dealing and engaging that specific consultancy. So at the end of the day, put your mind at ease. Make sure that you're really getting what you're paying for. And the last thing as well is a lot of consultancies out there are template-driven type of services. So they would use off-the-shelf type of software, and they will really just, spend an hour or two on your business plan and give you something that you could have done yourself. So be very, very careful. Make sure it's a consultative approach. Make sure the consultant or consultancy is taking you by the hand and walking with you step by step through this entire process of actually getting a final business plan.
All right, that seems interesting. I hope you don't mind me doing this, Thommie, but I'd like to also test your mettle since you made a good point of bringing up past clientele. I'd like to ask you, how many successful and unsuccessful business plans have you seen? I mean, you are a veteran. You've been here for 11 years doing this, so you must have come across quite a few duds in your days.
Absolutely. So to put it in perspective, the consensus in South Africa is that out of all the business plans that's normally submitted for funding, whether it's to a bank or a government institution, roughly about 5 to 8% is approved. So that leaves out of every 10 business plans, 9 is thrown away and 1 is approved. Now, what we normally do as a consultancy once every year, we normally follow up with our clients and we see where they're currently at. And our acceptance rate and success rate is normally between the 60 and 70% mark. No. So it's much, much higher in comparison to the market. And also remember, the ones that are not successful, a lot of those factors are beyond the consultancy's control. So remember, any funder will look at an entrepreneur's personal financial situation. They will see how this person carries himself and actually do the presentation, etc., etc. So there's a lot of or intangible type of factors that's beyond the control of any consultancy out there.
Okay, so I just need to ask this. Aside from the intangible factors, were there any tangible factors that you could pick up on that were the downfall or responsible for the success of those business plans?
Yes, absolutely. So let's first talk about the negative side, about the unsuccessful ones. Normally the unsuccessful ones are the ones that only have an idea. They've got an idea. I'm talking about the clients now. So you've got an idea, and you're basically going to a consultancy or a third party, and you expect them to put your idea on paper and for them to sell it on your behalf. Now, nobody can do that, and anybody that promises an entrepreneur that they can do that on behalf is
a lie.
Is really not. It's really lying. So it's entrepreneurs out there that's not willing to do a lot of the work themselves. And also the ones that tend to focus a lot on non-factual information. So they all their information in the business plan is hearsay, and they think and they
alternative facts,
feeling, etc. So that's the one component. And then on the other side is if the business plan is not based on factual information, and if that factual information can't be justified. So remember, any funder, any investor, if you say I'm going to make 100,000 Rand sales in month 1, all good and nice, but they would want you to justify how you're going to do that. So that's primarily the main reason why entrepreneurs are unsuccessful. On the successful side, once again, it's really the flip side of that, credibility. Entrepreneurs that's really willing to put a lot of time and effort into the actual business. It's not just a dream to them, but it's actually a dream they're willing to work on. So they go out and they speak to competitors, and they speak to potential customers, and they look at what's on the market, and they realize that there are risks, and they might not be able to do everything themselves. So, and they're willing to convey that message to funders. So the ones there that can really add to their own personal credibility. And once again, I hammer on that credibility. The one thing that's very important, you have one opportunity to apply for funding with your business plan, and if your credibility is going to be hurt, then that's a lost opportunity.
So appearance does alter reality. It's all about your credibility and your reputation and your willingness to go out and get the information. Am I correct?
Absolutely. 100%.
All right. Well, that sounds excellent. Thommie, I have to thank you for talking to us. But before you go, just to make sure our listeners can get a hold of you, do you have any way that our listeners can get a hold of you, actually?
Yes, so the primary way would be our website, which is jtbconsulting.co.za. So that's Juliet Tango Bravo, consulting.co.za, or anybody can phone me as well on 079 300 8984. And then JTB Consulting is available across the social platforms as well.
All right. Thanks so much, Thommie. It's really been a pleasure talking to you. You have really enlightened me. I must say, I am a young entrepreneur myself, and this advice will be helping me. And I can assure you, I just might be contacting you.
That's good to know. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and good luck to everyone.
All right, thank you. So that was Thommie from JTB Consulting. If you didn't get that, in case you didn't catch that, it's jtbconsulting.co.za, and then contact numbers if you would like some assistance with your own business plan, 079 300 8984. Make sure to get calling and get started.